All right, you have a seat. Okay. Your next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Marks, what work were you asked to do in this case?
I was asked to bring my years of experience in the entertainment industry and look at the damage that the op-ed of 2018 created in Johnny Depp's career and his life and his reputation.
What work did you do to determine whether Mr. Depp's reputation had been damaged by the op-ed?
Well, again, I view the op-ed and the fallout through almost 50 years in the business. And what I did was I read the pleadings in the case, the deposition transcripts, the articles, the pleadings, all of the paperwork in this case, which is voluminous.
Based on the analysis you've done and your expertise in the entertainment industry, have you formed any opinions in this case?
Yes.
Generally speaking, what is your opinion?
My general opinion is that the op-ed damaged Mr. Depp, created a cancel situation, if you will, harmed his reputation and his ability to get work in the Hollywood industry.
Objection. Yeah, hold on, sir. Yes.
I thought that, could we approach?
Sure.
Mr. Marks, do you have experience working with companies looking to engage actors to market or advertise their products?
Yes.
And what's that experience?
Well, virtually every company I work for, they are engaging actors to advertise. Most of the time, those products are TV shows or streaming series or feature films that all involve product spin-offs and derivatives, and sometimes they are just products and spokespeople getting together. But yes, I have experience in hiring a star to be the face of your product.
What types of things do companies consider when they're looking at using actors in their marketing or advertising?
Well, as you can imagine, they consider reputation. This is a capitalist society, and they're looking to make money. They want to add value to their investment. They want actors who have reputations that will bring eyeballs to the screen, bodies in the seats. They're looking for added value, not negativity.
Do you have experience negotiating agreements for actors to play a certain role in a film?
Oh, yes. As I explained, I negotiate deals with actors to play roles in films. And
what's the significance of the actor in the starring role in the context of a feature film?
The actor in the starring role becomes the face of the film, the product, the series. That actor is synonymous with the product. And again, in hiring that actor or actress, you want a reputation that supports the value that you've spent on creating the product. You might say that Pirates of the Caribbean is Johnny Depp and vice versa. That's the importance of hiring a star.
What aspects of an actor's reputation might impact their ability to get hired by brands or studios?
Well, again, on the other side of the coin, you wouldn't want to hire an actor who has negativity following them. You wouldn't want to pay to actually bring your brand down, your movie. And so that's very important, and especially in the last 5 years, they can get a return on their investment in our society so that they are not seen as being in the old generation where women were not given the benefit of the doubt, where victims were not given the benefit of the doubt. And a switch has been turned, and certainly by 2017.
Are there certain types of companies that are particularly sensitive to these kinds of allegations made by women in light of the Me Too movement?
Well, I would say the bigger the company, the bigger the budgets, they're all sensitive. But at the pinnacle of sensitivity are the family-friendly companies like Disney. They're particularly sensitive, not in a general way, but in a very specific way.
Mr. Marks, are you familiar with the op-ed Ms. Heard published in the Washington Post on December 18th, 2018?
Yes.
What's your understanding of how that op-ed was received in Hollywood?
My understanding of how that op-ed was received in Hollywood.
Oh, is it objection? I'm sorry, sir. Yes.
Is this his personal understanding, his expert understanding? It seems like if it's his personal understanding, it's not relevant.
I'm asking Mr. Marks based on his nearly 50 years in the entertainment
I'll overrule the
industry.
objection.
Thank you.
As I've said before, I am a member of the Hollywood community. That op-ed, for the first time, is in a mainstream publication called the Washington Post. This is a flagship journal, if you will, of American news. We're not talking about a trade paper. We're not talking about a rag. We're talking about the Washington Post. And it is geared to Hollywood. It says 2 years ago, when I was getting my divorce, Amber Heard is saying, I was the abuser and you didn't, Hollywood, you stood up for my abuser, not for
Objection,
me,
Your
the
Honor.
victim.
Objection. Now he's mischaracterizing the document.
I think he's expressing his understanding of how that was perceived.
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Thank you.
What I'm saying is Hollywood got the subject matter of the op-ed loud and clear. Amber Heard was calling out Hollywood for supporting since 2016, supporting her abuser, and she felt the wrath of Hollywood. She was calling them out to do something. In the Washington Post and on the eve of her biggest film, a big film for Hollywood, the publicity machine was in high gear. There was lots of publicity and news out there. This was the height of her fame. And she used it at that moment to call Hollywood out. They, in my opinion, as a member of Hollywood, they heard that plea loud and clear. And it also got her publicity for her movie. I don't think that in my perception, and people in Hollywood didn't see that as a coincidence, that date. So yeah, in Hollywood, I think the message was received that she was sending.
Mr. Marks, do you have an understanding of Mr. Depp's reputation in Hollywood with respect to whether or not he's on time to his film sets?
Yes.
What's your understanding?
Hollywood has a history of putting up with major artists and major stars' idiosyncratic behaviors. We've always had divas like Marilyn Monroe who would stay in her trailer for half a day. Johnny Depp has a reputation of being Johnny Depp. And when you hire Johnny Depp, you get all of Johnny Depp, and that includes being late. And fortunately in Hollywood, because of the budgets and the box office, you can budget for lateness. You can have second unit. You can have other shots. You have padding in budgets. you have insurance for accidents, but Hollywood knows Mr. Depp's reputation, and I heard someone say Hollywood puts up with diva and drugs. They only do that when money's involved and big stars are involved and artistry is involved.
Mr. Marks, did you have an understanding of Mr. Depp's overall reputation in Hollywood prior to the publication of the December 2018 op-ed?
I would say that Johnny Depp was one of the few major actors in Hollywood who managed to keep most of his personal life personal, kept himself shrouded, if you will, a bit. And his reputation, preceded him as a major artist in Hollywood. But what also marked him in this business is that he was congruent. He was likable. He was one of the guys. And I never heard any complaints, if you will.
Do you have an opinion about the impact of the publication of the op-ed on Mr. Depp's reputation in Hollywood?
It's devastating. It's the type of claim, the Me Too claim of sexual violence, domestic abuse, that has canceled a list of actors. Chris Noth recently. I just read something about Frank Langella. We know newscasters, Les Moonves, head of CBS. Now Johnny Depp is in their ranks. It's devastating.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, cross-examination, Mr. Nadelhoff.
Good afternoon. Your rate in this case is $975 per hour, is that right?
That's correct.
And you've never charged that higher rate in any other case, isn't that right?
I've charged near that amount, but
never that high, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. How much have you received for this case?
I'd have to look at my billing. During my deposition, the attorney who deposed me asked me the same question. I said I would look it up. I did during lunch, and then she never got back to it again. I don't remember how much it was then, and I don't have the figures now. And
you don't know how many hours you worked on this case?
I would guess, again, I'd be guessing, and I don't know if you want me to guess. I have a full-time transactional practice. This is a very small part of my practice.
Okay. Now, you said you worked for Disney for less than a year, right?
I worked for Disney about a year.
Yeah, and that was in 1990, right?
Yes.
So that was 32 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. And you worked at Greenberg Trowering from 2004 to 2006, is that right?
That's correct.
Your leaving was a mutual decision, was it not?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Depp still has an endorsement deal with Dior, correct?
I understand that, yes.
Okay. And he's had that endorsement deal since 2015, isn't that right?
I believe he's had the endorsement deal for a while, and I think he still has it.
Right. And Dior hasn't dropped Mr. Depp, correct?
As far as I know, Dior has not dropped him.
All right. And Mr. Depp did not have a contract for Pirate 6, isn't that right?
As far as I know, there is no contract for Pirate 6.
Right. And all the documents you looked at all the documents in this case, and you've not seen a contract for Pirate 6, right?
That's my memory of the documents. There was no contract for Pirate 6.
And in all the documents you looked at, you didn't see a text saying, Mr. Depp got the contract for Pirate 6 for $22.5 million, right?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
I didn't see paperwork on an agreement for Pirates of the Caribbean 6.
So not an email, not a text, not any written document about Pirate 6, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain that objection. Next question.
And you don't know one way or the other whether Mr. Depp will be in Pirates of Caribbean 6. You don't have a crystal ball, is that right?
Objection, speculation.
He's an expert.
Allow it. Go ahead. Overruled. Go ahead. You can answer, sir.
Well, as an expert, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but as an expert, I think Disney will do everything possible to try to put him back in Pirates, but not under this cloud.
Okay. You would agree that there was negative publicity about Mr. Depp before the op-ed, correct?
Yes.
You know that Ms. Heard made her accusations public starting in May of 2016, right?
Yes.
And Hollywood knew about that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Depp still had movies after May of 2016, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you would agree that there was negative publicity about Mr. Depp being publicly drunk before the op-ed, correct?
There was, I agree with the proposition that there was negative publicity before the op-ed. The op-ed was something different.
And you agree, in 2014, there was an article in The Guardian that said apparently drunk Johnny Depp cut off at Hollywood Film Awards ceremony. Would you agree with that?
Again, I don't remember reading the Guardian, and I don't remember that particular incident, but I'll take you at your word.
And you remember in looking through all the documents that you saw an article that Johnny Depp allegedly showed up drunk to movie premiere, reports say, right? That was in 2017.
I think I've testified that there is certainly Johnny Depp behavior and negativity out there. Yes.
And that a family production studio like Disney wouldn't want to be associated with, correct?
Again, you're talking about a very specific, series of 5 films that earn billions of dollars. And there is a line in Hollywood, as I've said, they'll put up with divas and drugs to make money. But now we've drawn a line in Hollywood at the domestic and sexual abuse.
And in looking through the documents, you saw articles in June of 2018 that said vodka for breakfast, 72-hour drug binges, and spending sprees that beggar belief. You saw that?
Again, I know these articles exist. I know they're not in the Washington Post. I don't know what article you're referring to, who wrote it, what publication it was in, but I know that those articles exist.
And you'd agree that before the op-ed, Mr. Depp had a run of movie flops, wouldn't you agree?
Every actor has, ups and downs. Mr. Depp, his career's been decades long.
You would agree that in January of 2015, there was an article that said Johnny Depp is on his way to becoming the most overpaid actor in Hollywood.
Again, you'd have to show me the article, but I don't doubt that some commentator trying to trade on being a smarty pants wrote that.
And you'd agree that there was another article in 2015 that says, quote, has Johnny Depp become Hollywood's biggest joke?
I don't know. Netflix has a whole festival going now. Netflix is a joke.
And you'd agree that there is an article in Business Insider from 2015 that says Johnny Depp has his 5th box office bomb in a row.
If that's what it said, it said. Are you just going to keep reading this?
This is Mr. Depp's reputation. That's what you're talking about in terms of Hollywood, correct? And in 2016, December of 2016, there's an article that says, quote, Johnny Depp is Hollywood's most overpaid actor for the 2nd year in a row. Did you recall reading that?
I don't know, was that written by the second underpaid actor?
And you would agree that before the op-ed, there was negative publicity for Mr. Depp about assassinating President Trump. Would you agree?
No, I missed that one.
You didn't see an article in the New York Times that said Johnny Depp flirts with idea of Trump assassination, then apologizes?
Again, Johnny Depp talks with irony and panache, and I don't particularly remember that. I have a lot of stuff in front of me.
Disney wouldn't want to be involved with somebody who's calling for the assassination of the president, would it?
I'm sure after those articles, Johnny Depp was involved in major studio projects.
Do you know one way or the other whether Mr. Depp was involved in major studio projects after June 23rd, 2017?
I think, again, I haven't quoted his IMDb page to memory, but he was in an animated film called Sherlock Gnomes. I think it was released, Paramount is one of the producers. I think it was released in 2017.
Would you agree that before the op-ed there was negative publicity for Mr. Depp about punching a crew member on a film set?
I heard about that.
Okay. So that's people who work in Hollywood that Mr. Depp had an accusation of assault, correct?
I heard about it, yes.
And would you agree that there were stories about Mr. Depp drinking heavily on the set of Pirates 5?
There were lots of stories that I'm sure that was one of them.
And those stories came out in 2016 and 2017 before the op-ed, right?
Again, you'd have to show me a timeline, but I'll take your word that there were articles written in various rags or trade public.
Is the New York Times a rag? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying the New York Times is a rag. What I'm saying is, at the height of the Me Too movement, we have this op-ed directed at Hollywood, and in the Hollywood I know, the rest of the stuff is background noise.
Now, and Pirates 5 did not make as much money in the box office as the prior Pirates movies did. Isn't that true?
That's true. It only made about $800 million.
It made less, though, than the first 4, correct?
Yeah, and any
Okay.
company would want to have a box office hit that made $800 million.
Now, can you put up Defendant's Exhibit 99, please? And if you could blow it up. Now, you said the Me Too movement started in 2017. Is that what you're saying?
It actually started long before that, but it picked up steam to what we now call the Me Too movement in 2017.
Okay. And do you recognize this article from Dan Wooten that says, "How can J.K. Rowling be genuinely happy casting wife beater Johnny Depp in the new Fantastic Beasts film?"
Yes, this article is in the UK Sun, which came to prominence by publishing topless women on page 3.
And the article came out on April 27th, 2018, correct?
I haven't skimmed through this, but I'll take your word for it.
And I think what you're trying to say was that the Sun was a rag, so no one would pay any attention to it. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying the Sun is the Sun, and it's in UK. And what this article is repeating stuff from 2016, repeating all the stuff that you might say should be all past history after the divorce. It's one Wooten's opinion in a newspaper that's claimed to fame as page 3 women topless, and yeah.
And Mr. Depp
UK,
sued the Sun over this, right?
What's that?
Mr. Depp sued the Sun in the UK about this article, right?
As far as I know, he wanted to clear his name. That's right.
And Mr. Depp, that lawsuit occurred in 2020, correct? It was tried in 2020.
I believe so. Yeah.
And there were accusations of abuse that came out based on that lawsuit, correct?
As far as I know, the accusations were all old news and predated much. Yeah, I mean, this is a 2018 article, and in 2020, they probably were rehashing it.
And the old news that was coming out in 2018, that would also affect Mr. Depp's reputation, correct?
Again, I've tried to draw a line, the line that Hollywood draws between the Me Too movement and starting in 2017, and the gossip and the claims back and forth. I mean, there was also press about Amber Heard being an abuser in those years. There was also the other side of the coin.
But the op-ed that didn't mention Mr. Depp at all and didn't mention any accusations that what happened to her, that's what caused Mr. Depp all his reputational harm. That's what you're saying?
Well, I don't agree that this article was not about
Did it mention
Depp.
Mr. Depp? That's what I asked you.
Well, does she have another husband who abused her
But
in
did it talk about it?
2016?
Did it talk at all about Mr. Depp's abuse?
Objection, Your Honor. He's tried to answer the first question, which was not exactly what the second question was that he re-asked. I'd asked him to be permitted to
Just ask
finish.
ask your question. We'll go from
The op-ed article didn't mention any specific abuse by Mr. Depp towards Amber Heard, correct?
The only name is this is Amber Heard telling her story that started in 2016 when she was domestically abused and ignored.
Now, there were headlines about the UK trial, correct?
I'm sure there were, yes.
Like, let's burn Amber text allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court.
I didn't hear you.
Let's burn Amber text allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court.
Yeah.
And there's a headline from July 19th, 2020 that said, quote, Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial. So Hollywood was following the case, correct?
Yeah. When was that headline?
In 2020.
2020. Yeah, look, Johnny Depp is a decades-long fixture in Hollywood, and people were following something across the pond. You know, we thought we kind of got rid of the UK in 1776, but they were still following it, absolutely.
I mean, Mr. Depp thought of enough about this article to have a 3-week trial in the UK, correct?
Objection calls for speculation about what Mr. Depp thought.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
There was a 3-week trial in the UK based on this article by Dan Wooten, correct?
I think I've said Mr. Depp finally had enough, and he sued to clear his name.
Okay, could I approach, Your Honor?
All right. You want to?
Mr. Marks, you testified that in the UK case, Mr. Depp was looking to clear his name, correct?
That's my assumption, yes.
And yes or no, did Mr. Depp clear his name through that lawsuit?
I wasn't in the UK, and I'm not going to opine on that. That's not what I've been engaged to talk about.
You don't know one way or the other whether Mr. Depp cleared his name through that lawsuit?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
You understand, can you please put up Defendant's Exhibit 115? In looking through the documents, did you see headlines from October 25th, 2018, almost 2 months before the op-ed, that Mr. Depp would not be in Pirate 6?
I saw that there was speculation in different publications, none quoting a Disney executive, if you will, none being definitive.
And
by the way, I can't see where's this article from? I just see the headline.
thedailymail.com.
So the Daily Mail is a UK publication?
Oh, all right, let's move. I mean, do you know or not?
Do I know what?
Do you know if it's a UK publication or not?
I think that the Daily Mail is, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, did you review the deposition testimony in this case of the Walt Disney corporate designee?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall that the corporate designee testified that Disney produced all documents related to its business relationship with Mr. Depp, including considering Mr. Depp for any work with Disney or future Pirates films, and she did not recall seeing the op-ed or any documents referring to the op-ed in that production of documents?
I read the deposition. I don't recall seeing the op-ed in what Disney produced. What I do recall is that the person giving that deposition for Disney really had no contact with Jerry Bruckheimer or Sean Bailey. Just was someone that Disney put up who didn't know anything, is what I took.
And you
from the
understand,
deposition.
you're a lawyer, right? You understand that a corporate designee is supposed to be in the shoes of the corporation talking for Disney, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. I think that's outside the scope of his expertise in this case.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I understand that that's what the corporate designee is supposed to be, but when I read that they are not in
That's what
touch with,
that was the
not in
question.
touch with the president of the company, it gives me pause.
So Disney itself represented through this witness that it did not have the op-ed in any of its files, correct?
I don't remember that passage in the deposition, but I can't remember. She certainly did not quote the op-ed or produce the op-ed or talk about the op-ed.
Now,
But in Hollywood, actions sometimes speak much louder than words.
and did you recall that same corporate designee said that Pirate 6 is still possibly in development?
Until Disney says it's not in development, it's in development.
Okay. And can we put up Defendant's Exhibit 134? And you see this is from November 5th, 2020.
And where's this from? Some rogue website? Where's this from?
InsideTheMagic.com.
Okay.
Okay. And this says Disney reportedly scraps plans for Depp's Pirates of the Caribbean 6 return, and that was on November 5th, 2020, correct?
Assuming that this is a correct copy of this random website, that's what it says. They're not quoting the head of production. It's not a statement by Disney, but that's what this woman, Rebecca Barton, says.
Well, 2 years after the op-ed, it was still a question as to whether Mr. Depp was going to be in Pirate 6.
There was no contract for Mr. Depp to be in Pirates 6, but he was Pirates. And there would always be that question until Pirates is produced or until Disney says otherwise.
And November 2020 was at the same time as all the publicity surrounding the UK case, correct?
I think the UK judgment came out in November 2020.
And this article came out 3 days after the judgment, correct?
If the judgment came out on the 2nd, this is 3 days later in, what's this again, moviemagic.com?
Correct.
By Rebecca, Barton.
Could I approach, Your Honor?
All right.
Now, isn't it true that you don't recall when you first read the op-ed?
As I sit here today, I don't recall when I first read it.
I mean, it wasn't a big deal to you. You didn't read it in 2018, correct?
I have a wife, 2 kids, a full-time job. I don't remember.
Okay. And you have no idea when you first read it? I just want to make sure I understand that.
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustain the
Look,
objection.
I wasn't
I'll
at this.
sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay.
I sustain the objection.
Okay.
Next question.
Now, you, as an expert in the entertainment field, do you know any actresses whose careers have gotten better after making accusations of a domestic abuse against an actor in Hollywood?
I think that the taint sticks and to both sides, and I can't think of any actresses who have prevailed and who've been canceled.
Do you know of any actresses whose careers have gotten better after making accusations of domestic abuse against a man in Hollywood?
I haven't been asked to opine on that, but I certainly will look into it. I don't think that this is something.
The answer is no, right? You don't know.
Again, I assume that.
So yes or no, do you know or not?
Thought her career would get better by bringing this out. I don't know.
All right, thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Marks, you were asked a series of questions about a number of publications and publicity related to Mr. Depp by Mr. Nadelhoff. Do you recall those questions?
He asked a lot of questions about a lot of articles.
And sir, based on your experience in the entertainment industry, do you have an understanding of what types of publications carry the most weight in Hollywood?
The publications that carry the most weight in Hollywood, in my opinion, after all these decades, are Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. Those are the publications.
And Mr. Nadelhoff asked you a number of questions about certain headlines related to Mr. Depp and various news coverage related to Mr. Depp. Do you have an opinion about the impact of those articles that you looked at with Mr. Nadelhoff on cross-examination on Mr. Depp's reputation in Hollywood?
Again, I don't remember all the articles, but what I do know is that Johnny Depp had always had articles about him, and that didn't change the baseline. If you had a big project and it had a role for Johnny Depp, that didn't change the baseline.
Is your opinion about the op-ed misheard author different than that?
My opinion about the op-ed in the Washington Post was a different. That was had a different quality of headline and article.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further
All right,
questions.
is this witness subject to recall?
He is, Your Honor.
All right, sir, since you're subject to recall, the rule of witness does apply for you, so you cannot discuss your testimony and did not watch any of the case, okay, sir? But you're free to go today, sir, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, watch your step there. All right, your next witness.
Plaintiff calls Douglas Banya, Your Honor.
Okay, can you spell that last name for me?
B-A-N-I-A.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I approach for just a moment?
Okay, sure. Mr. Nailhoff.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case or penalty of law? Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Banya. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Yes, Douglas Banya.
And Mr. Banya, what do you do for work?
I am an intellectual property damages and valuation expert.
Do you have any particular specialty in your line of work?
Yes, my specialty is using internet and social media analysis when I'm quantifying value, or I'm calculating damages, or if I'm analyzing the impact of social media or internet events.
Where do you work?
I work at Nevium, which is located in San Diego, California.
How long have you worked there?
10 years.
What's your position?
I'm a founding principal and an analyst.
I'd like to talk a little bit about your educational background for a moment. Where did you attend college?
I received my bachelor's degree in cinema from San Diego State University. I graduated in 1997.
And after you graduated in 1997, did you pursue another degree?
Yes, I went directly to San Diego State University, got a master's degree in television, film, new media production.
Was there any particular reason you chose to go to San Diego State for that?
The new media production side of that program I really liked. I graduated from there in 2000, so this is even before YouTube was found. So the whole idea of putting film on the internet, kind of analyzing the internet and using analytic tools to see how things are doing on the internet is that's what attracted me, and that's what I learned there as well.
What did you do after you got your master's degree?
After the master's degree, I moved to Los Angeles, and I was an independent filmmaker for a while. Then I got introduced to intellectual property, and I started working for a small boutique IP firm back in San Diego.
What was the boutique firm you went to?
What was the name of the firm?
Yes.
The name of the firm was Consor.
And what did Consor do?
Consor values intellectual property for various business reasons. They do litigation support services as well.
And when you say intellectual property, what do you mean?
When I talk about intellectual property, I'm mostly talking about copyrights, patents, and trademarks. I might include related intangible assets such as domain names, websites, internet accounts. But IP for me is mostly brands, publicity rights, copyrights, trademarks.
What type of work did you do while you were at Consor?
I have various positions there, but I was a research analyst as a financial analyst. I was a director of business development. My last position there was a principal.
And what kinds of things did you work on?
We worked on, valuation. Our clients, they needed a valuation of their IP portfolio for maybe tax or estate reasons. A lot of litigation support like I'm doing now. Somebody infringes on a trademark or publicity rights. That's actually the place I got my first expert witness job. I was a named expert on a right of publicity case representing the retired players of the NFL against the NFL. They're using their name and likeness without permission. So services such as that.
How long did you work at Consor?
I was at Consor for 10 years.
And after Consor, where did you work?
Then at Nevium, where I am now.
And did you found Nevium?
Yes.
What kind of work does Nevium do?
Nevium does several things, provides several services. We value intellectual property for various reasons, tax, estate, M&A, business transactions. We not only provide the value of a business, but we can break that value. What percent of the value is this trademark portfolio or this patent portfolio? We do litigation support. So like I'm here, I testify in cases, maybe a false endorsement case. Somebody uses a celebrity's name and likeness without permission. Maybe there's a trademark infringement case. You used a brand without permission. A defamation case such as this. What's the impact of something that was posted online? So the third kind of bucket of services we offer is brand monetization strategies. So I think the best way to explain that is companies have business plans, they have marketing plans, they don't have IP plans. So we come in and work with customers, with our clients, understand their business and their marketing plans, and help them build an IP plan that fits in with those two so they can essentially make more money off their branded products and services. And I think what's important with all that is, what differentiates us with competitors is we use internet and website analytic tools and everything we do. Everything is online now, and understanding those tools when calculating value or calculating damages is important.
Do you have any professional certifications?
I am a certified licensing professional. That is a designation given by the Licensing Executive Society. LES. LES is a not-for-profit organization that supports professionals like me who deal with a lot of licensing. I'm a Google Analytics individual. I have a Google Analytics individual qualification. That is a test given by Google for those that understand and pass a test related to internet analytics.
Can you explain a little bit about what Google Analytics is?
Yeah, so Google Analytics is a web service provided by Google, and it's used by business owners and website owners to understand the traffic that comes to their websites. So essentially, once you sign up for your Google Analytics account, you're given a bit of code, and you embed that code into various your web pages. Then you can log in and you can see like who's coming to my website, what are they doing. And really, it's essentially a tool for search engine optimization. The goal of the web is to show up number one in Google organic. So then you'll tweak your website a bit. You'll look at your analytics, see if you're showing up on the first page of Google. If not, you can use those analytics to keep playing around and try to end up on the first page of Google.
Are you a member of any professional organizations?
I'm a member of the International Trademark Association. That is an organization. They're actually having their annual conference here in DC, so I'm popping back and forth to that. I'm on their right of publicity panel. I just gave a presentation on Monday. I'm a non-attorney member of the American Bar Association. I'm on their copyright and social media committee.
Your Honor, at this point, plaintiff would offer Mr. Banya as an expert in internet and social media analytics.
All right, any objection? All right, so moved. Thank you.
Mr. Banya, what were you asked to do in this case?
I was asked to analyze the impact of the the allegations of domestic abuse made by Ms. Heard as it relates to her 2016 restraining order, and then asked to also analyze the republication of that alleged abuse in her 2018 Washington Post op-ed.
What work have you done in connection with forming your opinions relative to that?
So I identified the best tools to use in this case, which are Q-scores, Google Trends, and historic Google search results.
You used a few terms in there. I just want to break them down a little bit. What's a Q-score?
A Q-score is, there's a Q-score company that's been around for about 50 years, and what they do is they measure how well a brand or a celebrity or sports character is known and how much they're liked, and they also measure how much they're disliked.
Who else besides you uses Q-scores?
Q-scores are used by, any company that, organizations that license in a celebrity or a brand to endorse their product or service. The PGA Golf Tour is actually using Q-scores right now. They're using Q-scores in Google search results. They have a pool of $40 million that they're doling out to their players. So depending on their Google search results and their Q-scores and other metrics, I'm sure they're using those to, divide up that pool of money.
And I think you also mentioned Google Trends. What's that?
Yeah, Google Trends is another service offered by Google. As we know, everything starts with a Google search these days. There's 5 billion daily searches on Google. And Google Trends allows a user like me or you to go into Google Trends and analyze search traffic for various key terms, anything you really want. Maybe there's a new football player and you want to see how that football player is trending compared to the team over time, or maybe something related to Ukraine, or maybe a celebrity. So Google Trends just shows you what kind of search volume is happening during various points of time.
What are historical Google search results?
So historical Google search results are using Google. There's actually an area where you can go back in time and see what was showing up in Google during that time. And it's really the best indication of what websites would have appeared back in time. Oftentimes, working with my monetization clients, we want to know, hey, how were you ranking years ago for your branded service or your branded company? It will go back in time and look, and then in litigation, we're always going back in time, so we want to figure out what was most likely happening, what websites were served back then. And when you know what websites were served back then, you typically know what people were reading and thinking about.
Why did you choose these particular tools for your analysis in this case?
Well, the Q-scores, I really thought it was the best idea to understand Mr. Depp's Q-scores right before 2016, before the abuse allegations, just to see where he was at. Then I wanted to see his Q-scores right after the 2016 alleged abuse allegations. And then I wanted to see his Q-scores after the 2018 Washington Post op-ed, just to see if there was any changes during that period of time.
And what about your decision to use Google Trends and historical Google search results?
Yeah, I felt that those two tools together were perfect, because what I wanted to do is understand, as I mentioned, everyone's going to Google to figure things out. What were people when people Googled Johnny Depp prior to these alleged abuse allegations? What websites were coming up and what was the public consuming about him? Then I wanted to know that after, and then after the op-ed. So I used Google Trends just to identify the dates in time, in which then I went into the historic Google search results. I searched for Mr. Depp, and then I changed those dates to go back in time. And then I analyzed the top 3 websites of each search.
Based on the analysis you did in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Yeah, my analysis shows that prior to prior to 2016 and the allegations, the abuse allegations, Mr. Depp was not portrayed in a negative connotation. That's the first thing that I identified.
Did you form any other conclusions?
I realized that those websites that were coming up were mostly about his career, his characters, Johnny Depp as the individual, his interests. Then after the 2016 mark, the majority of those results turned into negative things about the abuse allegations. And then even more so after the op-ed, there seemed to be kind of a theme or a flavor of not only the abuse allegations, but his drinking and drug use. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Banya, have you prepared a demonstrative that depicts how you used Google Trends in this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd like permission to approach. I have her copy. Banya demonstrative A. And just for the record, we've marked these as plaintiffs 1236 for identification.
1236 for identification. Do you want to publish it to the jury?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And Mr. Banya, can you explain for the jury what is depicted in this demonstrative that you prepared?
Yes. So this is the Google Trends data. You're going to see that it runs from 2004 into 2020. And you're going to notice the different spikes. Those spikes represent when people were searching for Mr. Depp. You're going to also notice here, I've got the red line just showing the date when Ms. Heard filed the restraining order. Oh, can I write on this?
You can touch the screen, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Yeah, so here I'm talking about, in this line here, is just the date and time in which Ms. Heard alleged the abuse and filed the restraining order. And then this line here is the December 18th, 2018 op-ed. And what I wanted to do is identify the peaks of interest in Mr. Depp. And you're going to notice here, I found 17 spikes of interest that I analyzed. And then the 51 key web pages we're going to get into later, I've analyzed the top 3 search results for each spike. And then here I analyzed the 7 spikes after the 2016 allegations of abuse, and then again after the December 18th, 2018 op-ed.
Once you determined these spikes, the periods of significant interest in searches for Johnny Depp on Google, what did you do with that information?
So again, the purpose of using Google Trends was just to understand when there's the most interest in Johnny Depp, because for some reason, something was going on in the news, in the media. People are turning to Google to search for Mr. Depp. So then I went to my web browser, and then I searched for Johnny Depp in Google. But before I did so, I have a separate web browser. I call it my Workbench browser. I don't log into anything. It's important to be logged out of Google because Google keeps a profile on you, and your search results could be biased based on that profile. Then also when you go into a web browser, you have to clear your cache, you have to clear your history, clear all your data, and make sure you can get the most unbiased search results as possible. So I went into Google, I typed in Johnny Depp, and then I searched and set the time periods for the various points here that you see labeled with letters.
Do you have a demonstrative that shows an example of one of those points that you examined?
Yes.
Okay. Tom, could we go to the second Banya demonstrative, please?
Yeah, so this is an example of, I believe it was spike or 0.0 in the Google Trends. So what I did is I went into Google, I cleared everything as I told you, made sure I was logged out of Google. And here you can see I typed in Johnny Depp, I hit the search. And then what I did is went to this tool area, which pulls a drop-down area for the date. And I set the date to match the Google Trends spike of November of 2004. Then we had these top 3 websites that came up. I downloaded those websites and then I analyzed them.
So did you undertake this analysis for each of the 17 points on the prior slide that we looked at?
Yes, correct.
And what did you do once you had your web page results, such as on this demonstrative?
Do you mean when I reviewed each web page?
Yes.
Yeah, so what I was looking for is, were these web pages or articles, did they have anything to do with the alleged abuse? Did they have anything to do with his alcohol, drug use? Did they have anything to do with his work ethic? So I basically, tried to understand, the content and of each website or article.
Did you look at all of the results that turned up when you ran these historical searches?
I only reviewed the top 3.
Why did you choose the top 3?
So I reviewed the top 3 because research shows that about 50 to 75% of the people only click on the top 3. So I wanted to get the majority of the searches.
Tom, I think we can take that down for now. Thank you. What did you determine about the results that you found for the period prior to Ms. Heard's first allegations of abuse?
So I determined that, Mr. Depp was not portrayed in any negative connotation. The web results were about his life and his career, his acting, his, pictures of him, relationships he was in, just pretty normal stuff.
And what did you determine about the top results after Ms. Heard's initial allegations in 2016 and then the republication in the op-ed in 2018?
Okay.
Mr. Banya, what did you find about the results of the top web pages that you determined after Ms. Heard's initial allegations and then again after the publication of the op-ed?
Yeah, so after the initial allegations in 2016, I found that the majority of them had to do with the alleged abuse. And then after I realized that the web pages that were dealing with the alleged abuse then started talking about is drinking and drinking and doing drugs. So it appeared to me that they became negative after 2016, but then after 2018, they even included the alleged abuse, but also included the drinking and drug use.
Did you form any opinions about the results that didn't refer to the allegations of abuse?
That didn't, I formed an opinion that, I'm not following your question, I'm sorry.
That's all right, we can move on. Did any of the results that you analyzed refer to Mr. Depp's work ethic?
No.
Did you form any overall opinions about the results in the web pages that you looked at following Ms. Heard's accusations of abuse?
Yes, as I stated, prior to 2016, the web pages were just about his daily life and career. After the 2016 marker point, they tended to include, the majority of them included, the allegations of abuse. And then after the 2018 op-ed, the ones that included the allegations of abuse were also talking about drinking and drug use.
What was your overall view of the connotation of those results then?
Yeah, so Mr. Depp was portrayed in a negative connotation after the 2016 allegations of abuse, and even more so after the 2018.
You mentioned you also looked at Q scores as part of your analysis. How are Q scores calculated?
Yeah, so Q scores, it's a survey of 1,800 people that happens twice a year. What they do is it's internet based, and they measure how well a celebrity or a brand is known, how much they're liked and how much they're disliked. Q scores, include sports figures, celebrities, even cartoon characters, brands. So that's how the scoring system works.
Do you have a demonstrative that reflects the Q score analysis that you prepared?
Yes.
Tom, could we have demonstrative C, please? And Mr. Banya, what does this tell us about the Q score analysis that you completed?
Yeah, so what this is saying, again, these spikes are the Google trends that you've already seen, but what I've overlaid are his Q scores shown in the red, green, and purple area. And as you recall, I wanted to find out his Q score prior to the allegations of abuse in 2016, where he had a positive Q score of 11 and a negative Q score, a positive Q score of 35 and a negative Q score of 11. And then I looked at the Q scores after, and then after the op-ed.
And what did you determine about those Q scores?
Yeah, so what you can see here, his positive Q score, which is represented in red, was a 35, and that was prior to the alleged abuse and the restraining order. Then after that, his Q score, positive Q score, dropped to a 31. And what that's saying is less people liked him after the date of the 2016 alleged abuse. And then his negative Q score went up from an 11 to a 16, which is telling you that more people disliked him during that time frame.
And what did you find about the final Q scores that you looked at for Mr. Depp?
Yeah, then you can see the Q score C that I have there in purple. His positive Q score went from a 31 to a 29. His negative Q score went from a 16 to a 15. So now his positive Q score dropped again from a 31 to a 29, meaning less people had a positive impression of Mr. Depp. And then his negative Q score did go from a 16 to a 15. So not as many people disliked Johnny during that time frame.
What are your overall opinions about the Q scores that you analyzed?
So my overall opinions are, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to analyze the Q scores during this snapshot of time. I wanted to understand what they were before, during, and after the op-ed. And what this tells me is his positive Q score went from a 35 to a 29, and then his negative went from an 11 to a 15. So what the Q scores is telling me is the public perception of Mr. Depp has been damaged. They like him less and they dislike him more.
Based on all of the analyses that you completed in this case, what are your final opinions about Mr. Depp's reputation over this period of time?
Yeah, so my opinions are that, Mr. Depp was not portrayed in a negative connotation prior to the 2016 allegations of abuse. And then Mr. Depp's image, he was portrayed in a negative connotation after the 2016 allegations of abuse, and then more so after the 2018 Washington Post op-ed. And then the Q scores represent that, the public thinks he's damaged. They think less likely of him. His positive Q score has gone down, and they don't like him even more because his negative Q score went from the 11 to the 15.
I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our afternoon recess of 15 minutes. Do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research. Just stay right there for a second, sir. And sir, since you're in the middle of your testimony, do not discuss your case even with the attorneys at this point or your testimony. Okay, sir?
Okay.
All right,
thank you.
but you can step down. We'll be back in about 15 minutes, okay? All right, so let's come back then at 3:35. All right, does it work? Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are we ready for the jury?
Your Honor,
Okay.
we have one exhibit to hand out.
Okay, one exhibit. Oh, good. This means you're only down one, right?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. This is 1639. All right, thank you. All right. Go ahead and get the jury. 1639. All right, please be seated. All right, cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Mr. Banya.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Banya, you understand that this case is about the op-ed in December of 2018, correct?
I understand this case to be about the allegations of domestic abuse, both as it relates to the 2016 and the republication of that in the 2018 Washington Post op-ed.
You understand that Mr. Depp is only suing Amber about the op-ed from December 2018, correct?
My understanding is, I can base my understanding on my analysis, which includes the 2016 allegations of
That's your
abuse.
analysis, but do you understand what Mr. Depp is suing Amber for in this case?
Objection, Your Honor, to the extent it calls for a legal conclusion.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you read the complaint in this case?
Yes,
Did you understand that Mr. Depp was only suing for the op-ed, about the op-ed?
yes,
Okay. And Mr. Depp was not suing Amber in this case from his complaint about the accusation she made in 2016, correct?
that is my understanding.
And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus how it was impacted when Ms. Heard filed for divorce in 2016, correct?
That is not correct.
Okay. May I approach your?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Banya, you took a deposition in this case,
Yes, I did.
and I was asking you the questions in that case. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you took that deposition on March 21st, 2022?
That is correct.
Okay. And you were under oath at the time, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And you're under oath to tell the truth, correct?
correct.
Okay. Can you turn to page 83 of your transcript, which is on the 21st page of the,
I'm here?
okay, and you see line 9?
Yes,
And I ask you, are you able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed versus how it was impacted by when Ms. Heard filed for divorce? And your answer was no, correct?
correct.
Okay. And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife beater, correct?
Are you still reading from my deposition?
No, I'm asking you a question now.
Please repeat that.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife beater.
Objection, compound, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom, correct?
My analysis shows that the web documents that I reviewed after the 2018 allegations.
Respectfully, this is a yes or no. This is a yes or no question.
Please repeat the question.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom.
That was not part of my analysis to carve that out.
And you didn't. You were not able to separate it, correct?
I didn't try to.
Okay, and so you couldn't.
I didn't try it.
Okay. And you understand that the article Mr. Depp